Great motion to the inverted class brings us.
Good morning, colleagues. It's 10 o'clock and we are relatively pressed for time. Welcome to everybody on the platform. It's our first meeting for this select committee this year. So to all our members, welcome, and I hope we have a fruitful engagement today. And then, if I may, before we start with a presentation from the AG, just allow me to thank the AG and the delegation for availing themselves to brief the committee today. We will be led by a Mr. Mdichwa from the AG together with Mr. Rapitsi. Colleagues, we must take into consideration that the work of the AG is absolutely central to our parliamentary oversight role, and they do provide us with independent and evidence-based insights into how public funds are managed and whether the institutions are meeting the required standards of governance and accountability. And to Mr. Mdichwa and his team, please note that we do appreciate your continued support in assisting this committee to strengthen our oversight and ensure that public resources are properly safeguarded. And in saying that, could I hand over to Mr. Mdichwa to present to us, whereafter we will allow the committee members to engage should they have any clarity-seeking questions. And just a reminder, Mr. Mdichwa, we start at 10:30 with the department on their APP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Good morning to the Honourable Chairperson.
Sorry, I see you're a lady. Sorry about that.
Not a problem, Chairperson. Good afternoon, honourable members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to engage you. We always appreciate the opportunity to be able to engage your honourable selves on the work that we would have done as an office, with the objective to be able to capacitate you with information for you to be able to engage the relevant institutions for you to exercise your oversight role. So today we are going to be bringing you the audit outcomes of the UIF for the 24-25 financial year, which is the financial year that would have passed. I think, as you would note, that at least for when we in the past, when we were becoming for the UIF, it was always sort of like a year behind, or not necessarily in line with the rest of the public sector institutions, your PFMA clientele, mainly because of the fact that the UIF had been submitting financial statements on time, late. So this year, the 24-25 financial year, I think there was an improvement in the sense that the UIF was able to produce financial statements on time, that we were able to report on time with the rest of the portfolios, I think, which then allows a bit an opportunity for the oversight activities to actually happen as and when they should. So it's something that we, I guess, commend the portfolio or even the UIF in that at least they were at a point of being able to produce financial statements on a timely manner to allow that the audit takes place at the right time. And I guess the reason why we actually even commend that particular aspect is so that the different roles happen in terms of the accountability, them being held accountable as and when they should. So it's very important. We always advocate that the institutions submit financial statements on time, that the audits be done on time, so that everything that needs to follow happens on a timely manner, to allow that whatever gaps are being picked up from the audit process are actually picked up on a speedily basis, to allow for changes and corrective measures to be put in place. So Delta, can you already project the presentation? So I've noted the time that you've allocated to us, Chairperson. So we're going to try to be as brief as possible, to then allow that we are done with the conversation from our end by past. I know that we would have shared the presentation a while back when we were, booked to have a session with yourselves. I think last year already. I know that there was also a postponement of the session, so we didn't really reshare the presentation. So we're going to take the presentation as read, honorable members, and just highlight the key things, so that we allow an opportunity for engagements. So Delta will then take us through the presentation, but I'm just going to take you through the overall. Just go to the first slide, Delta. I see you now moving very fast. Overall slide in terms of maybe I'll just talk to it while they are projecting. So our mission as the Auditor General is to strengthen our country's democracy by enabling oversight, accountability, and governance in the public sector through the work that we do, which is the auditing work that we do, the insights that we gather through the auditing process, therefore, with the intention of building public confidence. So the engagements, hence we always appreciate the opportunity to engage your honorable selves, because it then allows us to be able to share the insights from the work that we would have done, to be able to enable the oversight structures to be able to exercise their role. So that's basically the intention of why we actually even do what we do, and why we appreciate the opportunity to engage yourselves. On the right-hand side of our slide, we talk to a culture in terms of our aspirations for the public sector. So our aspirations for the public sector speaks to a public sector with institutions that are characterized by performance excellence, accountability, transparency, and institutional integrity. So those four characters are what we see as quite important, in that every public institution needs to have those characters. And once we get that as the cornerstone of each institution, I think we are going to be able to see a transition from what we are currently seeing in the public institutions that we audit. Hence, we always then emphasize that it would be important that each public entity, when we talk to performance excellence, we talk to a public institution that demonstrate commitments to improving the realities of the South African citizens through the work that they do in them delivering on the legislated mandates, making sure that their strategic objectives are aligned to people's needs, being financially sustainable, and avoiding harm to the public institutions or even the public as a whole. So when we talk to our aspirations of public institutions that are characterized by performance excellence, we mean that. Also, when we talk to accountability, it speaks to institutions that are responsive to the different stakeholders that they serve, through them reporting and providing answers on their mandated responsibilities, which will then speed up the process of consequence management, and having institutions that have that character of consequence management. And then when we talk to transparency as well, we talk to the institutions providing the public, the oversight structures like yourselves, the auditors, or even other stakeholders with timely, relevant, and reliable information on their institution's performance, their finances, and how they have used the resources that have been entrusted on them. So that's what we talk to when we talk to transparency. And then lastly, speaking of institutions that are characterized by institutional integrity, And that speaks to all officials in those particular institutions, whether it be leadership of officials have put in place institutionalized controls that enable them to behave ethically, comply with legislation, and act in the best interest of that particular institutions and avoiding any conflict of interest. So that's basically what we are hoping to see in the public sector with these particular characteristics of the institutions that we are looking at. If you move to the next slide, I think the members would be quite familiar with the next slide. Are we not able to put it on slideshow, Delta? I think the members would be familiar with the next slide, which speaks to the roles that are being played, the important roles that that needs to be played by each accountability ecosystem, each role player. So that speaks from the lowest of officials in the institutions up to the executive authority if we're talking to the institution. It would be very critical that each player plays their role, because it would not be feasible for another layer to be playing the role of another of a layer below. So it would be then very important that every role player in the ecosystem play their part to allow that the circle actually operates, from officials to senior management, the accounting authority, the executive authority, the different assurance providers, which would be internal audit and account audit committees. It would be important that every person plays their part to ensure that the institutions are actually running as they're meant to be running. Also taking into consideration that there's also those support and oversight bodies that also need to play their part in making sure that there's accountability in the system, and that everybody is held accountable for the role that they're meant to be playing and what they actually have done. So, honorable members, I'm going to hand over to Delta, who's just going to take us through the audit outcomes of the UIF. We're going to start off with the recommendations. So, if we just reflect on when we left off in the 23-24 financial year, this would be the recommendations that we would have given, and this is the overall progress that we are seeing in the portfolio. And then we delved deep into the audit outcomes as per the financial statements, performance information, compliance with key legislation, and this additional insights that we would identified when we were looking at the different aspects or the data of the UIF to be able to identify certain insights that we want to share with yourselves. And then we can then hand over to the members for any questions or comments. So Delta, just go ahead. I'm not sure what's happening with our, why is it not on power on slideshow, Delta? Maybe just, can I hand over to yourselves?
Thank you, Zama. Good morning, Chair, and good morning to the honorable members. Okay, I just thought maybe let me just show my face. I'm also a miss. But if we can just then go to the slide presentations. It keeps kicking off the thing from the showing the full screen. So as Zama has indicated in terms of the recommendations, you would see there we have on the left the 2024 recommendations that you would have then indicated to the committee when we previously did our presentations. In the main, we highlighted the need to monitor actions relating to the resolving of the material irregularities in the entity. We also spoke to the close monitoring that is required in ensuring that financial statements are submitted and the annual performance report on time. And here we highlighted the issue of that the financial statements and the performance report need to be credible. We also indicated and also highlighted the need for the performance agreement to be aligned to each manager's key performance and responsibilities to improve the performance of the entity as well as the internal controls. We also spoke to the need for the follow-up on the status of the ITC project. But then if you look on the right of the screen in terms of the reflections as when we finalized the audit, we are highlighting that on the first bullet there, we're just talking to the fact that the there is slow response in terms of implementing actions to resolve the material irregularities that have been raised from the 2021 until 2024. So those still remain in the process and unresolved. And then we do, on the second bullet, I think Zama also highlighted to say we do commend the entity for the timely submission of the financial statements as well as the performance report to at least align to the rest of the public sector requirements in terms of the submission by the 31st of May. That has since been done. However, we are querying the credibility in terms of the financial statements that and the financial statements and the annual performance report that were submitted for audit. You will see as we go through the presentation in terms of the issues that we would have identified. And then we're also just
Sorry, is it just me or have we lost the speaker?
No, we have also lost him, Chair. Good morning. We have lost him.
Mardia, can you just find out what the problem may be? Thank you.
Chair, I think the speaker lost connection because no, I don't think so. She's still on the platform. Can we just find out from the PLO what's going on?
Apologies, Chair. I think I see Delta's just has a bit of a connection issue. So can you just give us a minute? I'll just ask that she join on my laptop, and then we'll just share from my side. If I could just ask if I can be also given the ability to share from my side.
Mardia, if you could assist there.
She already has sharing rights, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let me just share from my side.
Chair, it seems you have lost everyone.
It would appear so. This makes it very, very difficult. Mardia, can you just follow up for us, please?
Chair, they're just busy organizing themselves, but the screen is being shared by the parliamentary liaison officer. But they are online. Both of the presenters are online alongside the parliamentary liaison officer.
Okay, I'm just afraid we're running out of time.
Apologies, Chairperson. Yeah, we just had a bit of a technical glitch from our side. Sincere apologies for that. Can we just proceed from my laptop?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Just try and be as brief as possible.
Thank you.
Right. If we can just move to already on the next.
We've lost you again.
Chair, apologies for that. I don't know what happened. I got cut off on my side. I was still speaking on the other side. But can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'll just try to be quick. What I was indicating was that on this slide, we're just indicating the overall audit outcomes of the entity. The outcome still remains a qualification, as it was in the past 2-3 years. And I think on this side, we're just highlighting the issue of them submitting timelessly on time. But what still remains a concern is the fact that the financial statements are still qualified. I will highlight the qualification areas in terms of what are the issues that we identified on the financial statements, compliance, as well as the annual performance report in the next slide. If then I can just, on this slide, Chair, on the overall message, there we're just indicating that despite the financial statements being submitted on time, we are still identifying issues that need improvement in terms of the adequacy of the financial and the performance information. In the instance that now we are still identifying material misstatements that some of them could not be corrected during the audit process. And then we're also highlighting the concern relating to the consequence management that we're still not seeing taking place or the evidence thereof being provided to us. And then we are noting that while there are action plans, some of them couldn't be implemented on time or to adequately address the internal controls to improve the audit outcome of the entity. And also on the culture, we're just indicating that a culture of strong performance, accountability, and transparency, as well as the consequence management, is not necessarily embedded within the entity to ensure that the performance is improved. And then on the root causes, we are highlighting the persistent instability in leadership for both the commissioner and the director generals. We've seen a number of acting instances taking place in both positions. We're also highlighting the capacity issues around the investment unit of the entity, specifically dealing with the unlisted investments. We are also highlighting the IT system issues and the configurations thereof that are coming through in terms of our IT audit. The lack of consequence management is still a concern within the entity, as we are still highlighting those ones for the non-compliance or with the irregular expenditure, fruitless and wasteful. We're still not seeing those ones taking place. And then we're also just highlighting the position of the advisory board's role to say it plays as a limitation on the governance and the oversight. So on our recommendations there, Chair, we're just indicating that perhaps there needs to be consideration around appointing qualified, suitable individuals within those positions, including the DG, and ensuring going forward that there is adequate succession plans so that these issues don't repeat. And then we're also just encouraging the entity to say to undertake a formal assessment of the investment unit members and ensure that there are adequate members there with adequate skills and the different skill mixes. We are also recommending that there needs to be a comprehensive IT infrastructure assessment, including the remedial plans thereof to enhance the system's proactive risks, ensuring that adequate system, and that is because now we note that the entities mainly around IT systems, a lot of things seem to be happening on the systems, and then you need then to ensure that if for such an entity, the controls around the IT systems are adequate and closely monitored. We also say that perhaps there is a need to review and revise the governance framework to formally expand the role of the advisory board. And also, we are also highlighting that there is a need for meaningful involvement of the labor in the business and employers in ensuring that the institution and then aligns with the expectation and the needs of those that the entity is mandated to serve. If we can just move then to the next slide on the financial statement. I won't repeat because we have already talked about this once to indicate that in the main, the financial statements are still a qualification with material misstatements that could not be corrected. And then on the key observations, if we're looking at from the prior year, we are indicating that the root causes that led to the prior year findings were not adequately dealt with, that resulted in us having a similar or repeat audit outcome, specifically on the financial statement in this case. And also we are saying that there is a lack of improvements in the quality thereof, as we are still seeing a repeat. In terms of who did not do what, we are highlighting the former minister's inability to appoint the DG, a permanent DG. We have seen a number of DGs now coming in, acting, some for a month, some for 3 months. That is just causing a lot of instability for that DG to exercise oversight around the entity, with the DG being the accounting authority. We also just highlight that the senior management did not indicate that the controls within the entity are implemented throughout the year, and also the issue around accountability. If we can just move then to the next area, Chair. I will not go into the details, but these are in the main the areas that led to the qualifications in the audit report, which means that these are the areas where either we were not provided with information for us to be able to confirm the figures that are sitting in the financial statements, or in some instances, the information submitted to us did not support the amounts that have been recorded. So it's talking to all these areas: the benefit payments, the revenue non-exchange, the unemployment alleviation schemes, the investments, contingents and commitments, as well as the revenue management and the fair values. These are mainly just talking to the supporting documentation and the work, the support that was given to us, looking at what has been presented in the financial statements. If I can just maybe move then to the next one, in as far as the quality of the performance report. We are highlighting that there is still significant control deficiencies around the performance report that is submitted for audit. In terms of the prior and in the current year, you can see that material findings there were identified, leading to one program actually being program 3 that has significant issues and findings that were reported in the audit report as well. So in the main as well, there in terms of what did not happen was the implementation of adequate controls to ensure reliable performance reporting, and then ensuring that the achievements that are reported in the annual performance report were actually supported by relevant information. So there we're just highlighting that in the main, the annual performance report that was submitted to us with the targets, in some instances, we were not able to substantiate or support the reported achievements. Just on the next one, on the next slide, with regards to the compliance with key legislation, we are still highlighting there the areas that there were still material non-compliances that we identified and reported in the audit report, mainly speaking to the quality of the financial statements, speaking to the qualification areas that we indicated on the previous slide. And we also had consequence management, where we were not provided with the evidence of whether that has taken place, as well as the revenue management that mainly spoke to the limitations around the revenue that is collected by the UIF itself. There is a portion that the UIF collects in terms of the supplier declarations that were not received. So that is part of what led then to the non-compliance thereof. If we can just then move to the next slide in terms of the consequence management. On the consequence management, this slide is also speaking to what I spoke to that led to the non-compliances around addressing or following up on the non-compliances in the prior year that led to irregular expenditure, fruitless and wasteful, and ensuring that investigations are conducted and finalized on time, and ensuring that those that led to the non-compliance or the irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure have actually been held accountable. So what you will see there on the reasons for irregular expenditure not dealt with is just indicating that you will see that the significant portion is sitting with investigations under progress, which is what we would have highlighted to say that we see the entity seems to be taking quite significant time in finalizing those investigations. On the next slide, then it's also just highlighting, this one talks to the fruitless and wasteful expenditure, but in the main, it speaks similar to the irregular expenditure. We are seeing the investigations being an issue there. And the next slide, talking to the IT environment, I think it's just highlight the significant deficiencies in the control environment within the entity. And then in the main, the issues are with the prolonged delays, the extensions that keep taking place in finalizing the IT systems that, or the IT project that the entity has undertaken to take. The next slide, Chair, is just talking to in terms of the governance structures. on the internal audit and the audit committees, we are just highlighting that though the audit committee is there and the audit committee does deliberate, it almost defeats the purpose where then the documents that are being provided to them or the reports are not credible themselves. We do acknowledge and highlight that we do see that the audit committee is deliberating on these matters. However, because now in the end, the reports that are being submitted are not necessarily appropriate, then that causes the issue. And then in terms, the next slide, just talking to the material irregularities, I think I would have touched on to say that we're just highlighting in the status of the material irregularities in the main. And then that we're still showing that they've not dealt with. On the next slide, is we're just indicating the performance in terms of the targets that have not been achieved. We are seeing a 62% achievement over what the entity would have put for the programs that would have scoped in. So on the next slide, on the inside, Chair, I would just hand over to Zama just to cover this one.
Chair, I see that we are running out of time, but I just wanted to emphasize on this particular slide, which will then just speaks to the recommendations that we've put through for the minister and to yourself. Just in terms of what we've identified with benefits payments, just concerns relating to payments that are being made to specific organizations or companies where we're not even able to make proper verifications. When we actually visit those addresses, we're finding that the actual entities are actually not there. So we're actually concerned about the controls that are there surrounding benefits payments. Also, on investments, we are very much concerned about the continued losses that we are picking up with the investments that are being made on the funds relating to funds of the UIF, where we're seeing that there's a significant impairment that is being done on the unlisted investments. The real impact of that is that really speaks to the financial losses that are actually being incurred by the UIF, which is funds that are meant to be used for the citizens. If I can just then move, just to wrap up, Chairperson, if we can just move straight to the overall recommendations that we first started with the Accounting Authority, where we indicated that there needs to be a close monitoring of the performance against key targets. There should be a culture where the officials are held accountable for non-implementation of controls and allowing instances of non-compliances, because we've been seeing that there's been a continuation of non-compliance in the space without really seeing a lot of consequence management taking place. That the Accounting Authority also needs to actively oversee the design and implementation of corrective actions to address the deficiencies that are actually being raised over the years in the institution. And then we're requesting regular feedback on how these issues, the issues that have been raised in the ICT environment, are actually being addressed. And what we then recommended to the Accounting Authority is that there needs to be an investigation as to why the recommendations that we've actually been communicating to the institution over the years and they have not been implemented. There needs to be an investigation on the financial losses that have not necessarily been recovered with the money that we have indicated has been lost through the material irregularities that we have shared. We have also recommended that there needs to be a reconsideration of the governance structure of the entity, from having a Director General as the Accounting Authority, but rather, having a board like other PFMA institutions, so that we can actually see a diversity in terms of the sufficient levels of diversity to ensure that this conflict of interest is actually being addressed. Also, in terms of the investment committee, that we were suggesting that there would be a diversified investment committee with true representation of different professionals to address the issues and the losses that are actually being reported on the unlisted investments. There needs to be an investment in terms of the committee themselves to ensure that the investments that are being made on behalf of the UIF are not necessarily yielding losses. Obviously, we've already also communicated the position of the DG needs to be filled with urgency, and also that there be stability in leadership in the institution. Also regular feedback on how the material irregularities and the deficiencies in ICT environment have been raised. So these are the recommendations that we have then communicated to the executive authority, then through the engagements that we're having with her to monitor and see how she's actually being responding to these recommendations, Chair. I think the last slide would then just be talking to the key recommendations to yourself as a committee, which we're basically asking Chairperson that there would be feedback on why the recommendations have not been implemented. It would be important to have a reflection as to the root cause, we've been saying the same thing over and over again. There needs to be a point where there needs to be a reflection of, is there a root cause for the non-implementation of the recommendations over the years? The monitoring of the progress of the targets that have not yet been achieved, it would be important to see how is the entity actually planning on improving to ensure that the targets that are being set are actually achieved. Monitor progress in the implementation of the MIs. We also recommending to the committee to obtain commitments and monitor implementation of the investigations and consequence management relating to the irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure that is in the space, and also to get regular feedback on the progress made in filling positions of the Director General. That's basically what we are recommending to yourself, Chairperson, to be able to address some of the deficiencies that we're actually picking up in the space, which I think if you would just recall from the previous communications, is that there is a recurrence of certain instances. So there's a need for a reflection to see what would be these root causes for this recurrence, and how do we then attend to them to ensure that there is a change in the environment, which is ultimately what we're wanting to see in the UIF. Let me pause there, Chairperson, and then we can take questions or comments. Apologies for the mishaps when it comes to technological glitches that we had. Over to you.
Thank you very much. No worries about the technical glitches. We all are subjected to it sometime or the other, so please don't feel offended by those glitches. Colleagues, it is clear that this department is not performing the way it should be perform. So when we do engage the department after this, you have been given good insights into where the major problems are. But I would just like to ask, are there any clarity-seeking questions from the members to Ms. Mditshwa or Rapitsi? Let's see if there are any hands. I see Honourable Pinar's hands up. Honourable Modise has given a thumbs up. Okay, over to you, Honourable Pinar, and then Honourable Montwedi. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the AG for the comprehensive report. I've just got 4 questions. Numerous times you talk about the IT and the ICT projects that's delaying accountability and putting measures in place to prevent unnecessary spending and prevent loss. What are the reasons they are giving you as the AG why this delay in the ICT projects? I just want to get behind the reasoning from their side, if possible. Then you touched on, for me, that was quite shocking and disturbing, that senior management makes achievement claims in order makes achievement claims that they've achieved, but they've got no evidence to show they've achieved them, or not relevant evidence. Am I also correct in saying that is how they pay their own bonuses? if they make these achievements in brackets now, that's how they justify yearly bonuses. Because that's my understanding of it. If you can just confirm that, please. And then there was a slide, I think it was slide 15 or so, where you spoke about the 39 million currently being investigated, and there's 150 million that was not investigated. I want to go with regards to 39 million first. Have they given you timelines when that's currently being when the investigations will be finished? And obviously, as well, with the 150 million that's not being investigated, what is the reasons they are giving you there for the 150 not being investigated? And then the last question would be about the DG. Have they indicated why the delays and when they will close out that appointment? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honourable Montwedi, followed by Honourable Mabilo.
Thank you very much, Chair, and a very good morning to everyone in the meeting. Thanks, Zama and the team, for the presentation from the AG. One, I think it's worthy to note that for the first time, the financial statements were submitted in time, but still they remain poor and unreliable. And for the previous financial years, also, those statements were submitted late, but still the same, poor and unreliable. Now, given this challenge, what is the remedy that the AG, because the AG indicated that they make recommendations over the years, but they do not get implemented. I just want to find out from the AG to say, what remedy have they proposed to the department in terms of dealing with some of these challenges that the AG has actually indicated around the poor and quality submission of the financial statements? That is the first question. The second question on my side, Chair, is that given that the UIF's repeated failure to investigate irregular expenditure, financial losses, this and that, I want to ask the AG, with a reference to the amendment in terms of the Public Audit Act, particularly binding remedial actions, referrals and submission of debt to compel the entity to ensure that. I just want to find out from the AG is how does the AG intend to use that amended Public Audit Act to deal with the repeated failures as identified before. Now, the other question, Chair, is around the leadership instability and the governance breakdown that I just want to check on the side of the AG to say, what are the specific governance and control breakdowns did the instability cause in relation to the issue of the Director General and the Commissioner there and there? Because the AG did link these to recurring audit failures. So just want to find out to say, what specific governance and control breakdowns did this instability cause? And how did they directly affect the reliability of financial statements, performance reporting, and consequence management? Chair. Now, the other issue that is mentioned here is around the failure to investigate irregular and fruitless expenditure, where it shows 96 million in regular expenditure, 150.6 million in fruitless and wasteful expenditure, still not investigated or finalized. So I just want to check that why has the UIF repeatedly failed to investigate and conclude these cases within the PFMA timeframes, and does the AG view these as a failure of the accounting authority to enforce consequence management? Now, I'm asking this, Chair, because we'll later have a meeting with the department. So I just wanted to get a response from the AG so that when we have a meeting with the department, we actually know where to actually start with our issues. Now, my last two issues, Chair, is on the modernization. I think the previous honorable member did touch on this, but I just want to check the AG on the sub-modernization project and infrastructure failures to say this project has been ongoing since 2015. with more than 250 million spent thus far, repeated contractor failures, missed deadlines, and a system still not operational. Now, I want to check with the AG. Does the AG regard the sub-modernization program as a material irregularity due to prolonged delays, unsupported payments, and lack of deliverables? And what risk does this pose to the UIF's future financial reporting, security, and service delivery? Now, the other one, Chair, is around unlisted investments that the AG did speak about, to say, just to ask the AG to say, what proportion of the UIF's unlisted investment portfolio has been impaired to zero? And does the AG believe this losses stem from poor due diligence, weak oversight, or potential misconduct? The last question that I'm ending on, Chair, is on the reliability of benefit payments and risk on fraud. I want to check, does the AG believe UIF is currently exposed to systematic risk of fraudulent or misdirected benefit payments, and what is the estimated scale of this exposure, if the AG can respond to this? So if they can respond to this, it's fine, but if they can't respond to some of these questions, I think they can still do that in writing through you, the Chair. And thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity, but the presentation is most welcomed from the side of the AG. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Montwedi. Honourable Mabilu.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Zama and members on the platform. I think I also welcome the presentation from the Chair. Honourable Chair, sorry. I just have 2 to 3 questions to the AG. One is that the AG is raising a very serious concern in terms of saying that in terms of the culture of the UIF, there's no culture of strong performance, accountability, and transparency, as well as consequence management. Now, I will be interested, AGO, in terms of the accountability in that part, to say in terms of the action plan, what has been put in place to deal with this aspect. For me, this is fundamental to public institutions and public entities. So I would want to get that explanation from you. Then, with regard to the overall audit outcomes, that is, the audit is a qualified audit opinion, which in my view is a negative audit opinion. I would be interested in terms of the accountability as well in that regard, about the negative audit opinion over a period of time as scheduled by you, as indicated by you. Lastly, we don't get clearly I know my 2 colleagues have tried to touch the issue of consequence management. But for me, as it results to non-compliance and it remains a challenge, what are the gaps in relation to effecting this matter of consequence management, which will serve, in my view, as a deterrent to any misdemeanor or any unbecoming conduct? Lastly, AGO through the Chair, with regard to the implications in relation to the employment enterprises and also the beneficiaries in relation to what is due to them in terms of compensation. So those will be my questions, but the others I'll reserve to the entity itself. Thank you, Honourable Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you, honourable members. Honourable Madichwa, you have clearly heard that I think everybody's on the same page with regard to this department and the problems being experienced year after year after year. Could you briefly just respond to the members? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll just, maybe if you allow me, because of the time, I'll just do a brief response, Chair, and then the detail of some of the questions that would be asked by the members. if with your permission, Chair, then we can then request to do it in writing, because I know that there would have been detailed questions that if maybe with the time I might not have if you allow that, Chair. Can I?
Sorry, I think I was cut off or you were cut off. I missed that, but I got the gist of the story. Yes, perfect in writing. If you just sum up what was said. Thank you.
Yes, Chairperson. Thank you so much to the honourable members for the questions and the comments. And I take note of the concerns that have been raised by the honourable members. I just wanted maybe to highlight some of the key things that would have been raised, and then the details of what would have been asked. I'm going to provide in writing. Is specifically relating to, I know that what we have communicated significant delays, whether you're talking to the ICT project implementation, whether it speaks to, I know the members also spoke to the concerns relating to the investigations, whether they're speaking to irregular expenditure, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. And that is a concern that we have raised with the institutions, honourable members, in that there is significant delays that we are picking up, and the overall implications of that is what we're actually seeing on the ground. For example, the ICT project, the delays in the ICT project, we also have a material irregularity that we have actually raised with regards to money being lost relating to some of the ICT systems that they have in place. So it's something that is currently a concern from our side, but we'll be able to provide the detailed responses from the questions that would be on the that would have been raised by the honourable members. I wanted just to touch on one honourable member that spoke about the amendments to the Public Audit Act in terms of how we planning on using sort of our powers with regards to the amendments to the Public Audit Acts with what we are picking up in the UIF. Currently in the UIF, we have raised 4 material irregularities, speaking to payments that would have been made and losses that have been incurred by the institution. And we are actually following through in terms of our processes to ensure that ultimately what we're wanting to see is that there is investigations that are done to respond to the what we have been, identified as non-compliances, that there's consequence management, that the systems and internal controls within the institutions are actually corrected to ensure that this does not happen again. And then ultimately that money that has been lost, because we're picking up that there's a lot of money that is being lost on the system, that it actually be recovered back from whoever's responsible. So that's the process that we're actually embarking on in the UIF based on the deficiencies that we've picked up that have led to material irregularities. And the last part, which speaks to the instability, Chairperson, which is something that we've emphasized the importance, even when we engage the Honourable Minister, we always emphasize the importance of making sure that there is stability in the leadership of the UIF, whether it speaks to the appointment of the Director General, also the stability in terms of the appointment of a commissioner at the UIF, because there is an importance in a stability in that layer of leadership, because without that layer of leadership, we usually see a lot of cracks in the system, which speaks to the accountability that becomes lacking, consequence management that is not taking place, which then results in a lot of deficiencies that we are picking up in the system. So it would be then important that that layer, which speaks to the accounting authority in the system, even the accounting or the commissioner level, that they are filled with speed to ensure that we see stability. Once there's stability at the top, then we can be able to see controls that are put in place that will provide a stable ground to ensure that there is proper reporting that is taking place in the system, there is proper accountability, and there is adequate consequence management. So I'll just touch on those areas, Chairperson, but we've noted all the questions and comments from the honourable members, and we will then provide detailed in terms of the details that would have been asked by management. But I see that some of the questions, it would be important that maybe when you do engage with the department in the UIF, that you would probably get the answers in terms of why they delay in certain things that they're doing, whether we're talking to ICT projects or even the investigations that need to happen. I guess it would be then prudent that that conversation also takes place with them to be able to get a sense of what is causing or the root cause for the delays that we're actually picking up on the system. With that being said, Chair, let me just pause there and commit to providing additional responses to some of the comments raised in writing as requested. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Maditwa. Could I ask that the responses in writing be done within 7 days of today's meeting and sent to the Secretariat so that they can distribute it? And then, colleagues, my take on this is that we need to look into systems to be able to strengthen the AG's hand, because at this point in time it would appear as if the AG makes all these recommendations, but they are treated as if it is something that's just been put on paper. But that is a discussion for another time. May I take this opportunity to thank Ms. Maditwa and Rapitsi for their input and for giving us a bit of insight into what is happening at this in this department, and I'm sure the members will use it to their benefit. You're more than welcome to stay on the platform, but you may be excused as well when we go over to the next round. Thank you very much. Maria, if I may ask that you just flight the agenda for us. All right, colleagues, we've had the briefing by the AG. I didn't want to do the agenda then because of time constraints, but we are now going to be briefed by the UIF on its APP and for 2025, 24, 25, and then we're going to consider minutes. If I could ask for a mover and a seconder of the agenda, and then I will enlighten the members of what has transpired now shortly. Honourable Pinar, Honourable Mabilu.
Thank you, Chair. I move for adoption of the agenda.
Thank you very much. Honourable Mabilu.
Thank you, Chair. We have received the notice of the meeting, including the agenda. So therefore, I concur that we adopt the agenda.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mabilu. Mardia, has the department been connected to this meeting?
Yes, I am, Chair. Yes, they have, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, I know that we find ourselves in a very difficult position. We received late notification from the Minister and the Deputy Minister that neither of them can attend. And the Minister enlightened Mardia very late last night, and the Deputy Minister enlightened us this morning. Now, it is now over to us to decide if we are going to go forward. I would suggest we engage the department as they are on the platform, and then any pertinent questions that has to be directed to the executive, we can do so. We keep it in abeyance, and we do so on the 25th of March.
Yes, Chair. The UIF and the compensation fund is coming back to the committee again on the 25th of March, Chair.
Okay. I don't know if anybody wants to respond to that. It's just very difficult in light of the decision that was taken by the committee members. Honourable Montwedi.
Thank you very much, Chair. I got cut for most of the, I didn't even hear the AG, but to comment on what you just said now, I would want to propose that can't we wait for the minister so that, because most of the questions we would want the minister to respond to those questions, or are you saying we must post questions, give them a homework so that when they come on the 25th of March, they just go on and respond on our question, or we wait for their response because they ought to give a presentation responding to the audit outcomes by the AG. And only then we then get to talk to them on because they must respond. I think they must respond to what the AG says, and then only then we can start to have an interaction with them. But I just want to make that submission, Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, what you've said is true. At this point in time, there is no executive, so we won't get a response from the minister or the deputy minister, seeing that they're not on the platform. But my suggestion was that we go forward, we listen to what the department has to say in light of what the AG has said, and then we keep the ministerial questions where the executive has to answer in the back of our minds, and we ask them at the meeting on the 25th. Can I have any... Honourable Pinar, and somebody spoke whilst I was speaking.
Sorry,
Honourable Pinar Montwedi, and somebody else spoke. I couldn't catch.
My sincere apologies, Chair. My sincere apologies. It was me who spoke. Apologies.
Oh, all right. You will follow Honourable Pinar.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable way to go about it. Obviously, if there are questions, we are seeing them again on the 24th. But I think we must interrogate the senior officials that's been mentioned in the AG's report, and I'm sure they are present in the meeting, because they are the ones being named and shamed in the AG's report. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Pinar. Honourable Montwedi.
No, Chair, if that is the proposal, I think it's fine, but I had a different view to say the minister as the executive authority has to lead a team from her own or his own department. Now, are we going to engage on a team that is led by the acting DGs for the past 12 months or so? So I had a view that the minister as the executive authority has to lead the team that should be speaking to us here. Hence, I'm still saying that the minister must come, bring a report presentation in response to this, and then we get to ask. But if the meeting feels that we continue the department, it's fine. But there's a very thin line to differentiate between questions that goes to the minister and that goes to the administration. But if the meeting feels like that, I think it's okay. But I still strongly feel that the minister has to lead the team, and we take charge to the minister, and all those that are accountable will then have to respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Montwedi. I hear exactly where you're coming from. We have two proposals on the table. I see Honourable Nglazi. I can never pronounce her surname. Mary, Honourable Mary, your hand is up. But before I go to you, let's just take into consideration what has been said, and after Honourable Nodada has spoken, we can take a decision. Honourable Nodada.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to yourself, and good morning to the honourable members. Chair, as much as my view is that we must not engage with the department when the minister is not there, but I remember some time we were considering the fact that her work makes her busy. Mostly she's absent from our meetings. And then it may mean that we will not oversight this department if we wait for her. I understand where Honourable Mfwedi comes from, because really to oversight the officials without the head, it's at times useless. But I propose that we proceed with the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Nodada. Honourable van den Berg.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would also say that if we can continue with the department so that we get all the facts. I think on the 25th, when we then get to speak to the minister and the executive, they'll be able to. We can spend more time with them because we got the report and the reporting of the department behind us. So if we can do that, I would second that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we've got a proposer and a seconder, so I think we carry on. Could I ask who from the department will be leading us, and that they speak to the presentation that was circulated to us? Please don't expatiate on anything because the members have already gone through it diligently. So you have 45 minutes to present, and then the members have the opportunity to engage, because we still need to get to our various airports as we are on oversight with Honourable Modise's committee. Thank you very much. Over to the department.
Good morning, honorable members, chair and honorable members on the platform. My name is Jackie, the acting DG from the Department of Employment and Labour. The person who will be taking you through the presentation is the acting commissioner. And without too much waste of time, as you've indicated that you press for it, I'll hand over to the commissioner. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
My apologies, Chair. My apologies, my humble. Can Jackie mention the surname? Can't just say the Jackie. What is Jackie, Chair?
Honourable Motweni, just repeat that, please.
Jackie Mudisani.
All right, you can respond if you heard that.
No, I was just asking her to indicate the name and the surname because she just said Jackie. Yes.
All right. Can I ask that you just show us your face and indicate your name and surname, and then you may switch off your video. Thank you.
Chairperson, can you see me?
Unfortunately not.
I'm trying to. Can you see me,
All right.
Chairperson?
If you there we are. We can see you now. Thank you. And just repeat your name.
My name is Jackie Mudisani. I'm the acting DG of the Department of Employment and Labour. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. If I can ask, you'll have to speak up so that we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Emma, is this better?
Yes, thank you.
My name is Jackie Mudisani. I'm the acting DG of the Department of Employment and Labour. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
You may proceed.
Chairperson, I'll hand over to Dr. Malebu Mabiche, who is the acting commissioner of the UIF, who will take the committee through the presentation within the prescribed time frame that you've indicated. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to the members of the Select Committee. My name is Malebu Mabiche Thompson. I am the currently acting as the UIF Commissioner. Chair, with your permission, I would ask to turn off my camera if you agree.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. We were asked to come and present our audited annual report for 24-25. So I'll go straight to slide 3. Slide 3, please. If we can go to slide 3. Thank you very much. Thank Chair and honourable members. This is just to remind the meeting of the mandate of the UIF, that it comes straight from the Constitution, and the direct part in question is the part that deals with the fact that everyone has the right to social security. So the UIF is a form of social security, particularly for those that come into incidents of unemployment during their working life. If we can go to slide 4. Thank you. And then here on slide 4, what we just indicate to the members are the values, the mission of the UIF. And I'm taking cue from the chair that honourable members have already gone through the presentation. I think important to indicate here would just be that the business value chain of the UIF starts from employers registering their employees and making the declarations, contributions being deposited with the UIF, and then of course us honoring those claims, and then in honoring those claims also ensuring that we work to create a vibrant labor market, which is the work that is done under the Labor Activation Program. If we can immediately go to slide 5. Slide 5, yeah, thank you. In this slide, Chair, I won't spend much time on it. Basically, what we are doing is just highlighting some of the things that we will be talking about in the presentation, the issues that we've had to grapple with in the financial year, some of the initiatives that were then rolled out in spite of the difficulties and the challenges, and some of the work that
the sanitized news reports. The legend of the untouchable fortress just died in the Negev desert. If you think Nevatim Air Base is still a safe haven,
Oh, there's some or other.
24 hours
yes.
behind the
Can I, Mardia, can you just check where it's coming from, please?
watch this.
Babilo?
Just fire.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, before you carry on, Honourable. All right, they've switched off now.
Thank you very much. Can we just move on to the next slide? That will be slide number 6. Here you would have also seen in the engagement with the AG, if you can double click on this slide so that the full slide comes through. Thank you. You would have seen with the engagement with the AG that the AG would have focused on 3 programs. These are the 3 programs of the Unemployment Insurance Fund. The first is administration, which is where management and strategic oversight is provided to the fund. Program 2, that is where the collection and payment of contribution is done, and then in program 3, that is
Point of order, Chairman.
Yes, Honourable van den Berg.
Chair, we're going to sit here for hours if the department wants to take us through every step of what they are doing and what they are not doing. We did go through this information and we want to get to the questions because there must be some questions to answer. Can they not please make a plan to focus on, for instance, the report of the AG and their recommendations, etc. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable van den Berg. I agree with your sentiments. Honourable Acting UIF Commissioner, please, We all know what your mandate is and what programs sought under you. Could we move to the presentation as such and speak to the problems that have been highlighted? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I was presenting in light of the mandate of having 40 minutes to present, Chairperson, and we were going to handle the everything that has been raised. But taking on your guidance, we can then immediately go into the next slide, which deals exactly with what the honourable members are asking for. Slide number 8. Thank you. In this slide, what we seek to show is over the years the performance of the fund. As you can see, there's been a steady improvement and much more still needs to be done. The color coding, as members would have noted in their going through the slides, just talks to the different business units. And we just indicate there at the bottom of the slide that the UIF was able to achieve 16 of the 27 targets it had set for itself. Next slide. Thank you. And in this slide, we now start going into the different areas of the KPIs of the UIF, which were audited by the Auditor General. The first one there, which was not achieved, the audit, we were supposed to have implemented 100% of the audit plan, but there was a delay in the implementation of that audit plan. The big corrective measure there that has been implemented, which was part of what was not achieved, was that the AFS have now for this year been submitted on time, therefore dealing with some of the big issues that would have been raised by the AG. And then on the POPIA side, we were supposed to have implemented 100% of the action plan there. Only 60% was achieved, and we are beefing up our internal response to POPIA, as we indicated there that one of the things that was going to be done at that time was to appoint a service provider to help us with improving capacity. Of course, with simple cases, we had set ourselves the target of 80% of those cases being finalized within 90 working days. We were able to deal with all cases that were submitted to the UIF, which are regarded as simple cases, within the prescribed period. So that one was achieved. And on the complex cases side, as it is generally the case with complex cases, there were delays there. And the reasons for deviation, we have indicated that there were some delays in terms of some of the approvals that were required for these cases to be closed, something that has now been dealt with for this current year. In the next slide, please. On this slide, still on administration, in terms of paying invoices within 30 days, what we have been dealing with is a massive increase in the number of invoices that have to be dealt with. What that has done is that it's just increased the volume of invoices that colleagues have to deal with, and the solution that was brought in order to deal with the delays is to create dedicated teams to deal with specific types of invoices within the fund. And the area of the most delay was on the left side, and we're indicating there that that a team has been put together to deal with those. On the vacancy rate, we are confirming that we are within our target and there is no deviation. On the COVID TERS payments, there we are indicating that all the payments were done in line with our target, and that we are moving as per what was committed. On compliance with strategic asset allocation mandate, we are indicating there that we have achieved our target. In terms of number of client experience surveys conducted, we committed to 2, and 2 were achieved in the financial year. In the next slide, please. Here we just are indicating that as far as number of COVID test projects evaluated, we committed to 5 and we achieved that. In terms of number of lab projects evaluated, we committed to 5 and then we achieved that. In terms of PwC, this was a report that was meant to assist with improving capacity within the fund. We have only implemented 45% of the PwC recommendation, with the rest of the other recommendation being linked now to the project of corporatizing of the UIF. In the next slide. In program 2, Chair, we had a commitment of new companies that will be served in terms of what they present to us, complete, accurate, verified information in terms of what we call UI 54, that those companies will be serviced within 1 day. And yes, we achieved 100% of that, so there wasn't any variance there. And that talks to a number of new companies that are being registered, that we were able to register those within a day. And in terms of those companies that will provide complete, accurate and verified benefit payment documents, we are indicating that we only were able to deal with the cases to a level of 89%, which is below the 95% that we had set ourselves. The issues raised are in relation to some of the systems improvements that we need to put in place, some of which in this financial year we're going to see a lot of improvement, with some of the systems now having come into play, which was not the case in 24-25. Next slide. Still in business operations, we had a commitment of 92% of unemployment benefit claims that would be dealt with within 15 working days, and we were able to achieve that. Next. When it comes to unemployment benefit claims that are finalized within a set time frame, Chair, the target was that we finalize these claims, particularly up to 60%, and then we have achieved 81% of those. We indicate to you what that number actually means, and behind this is a realignment of processes to make it much easier for these claims to be processed while we don't undermine any governance. And then, of course, part of it was also to allow for staff to work overtime to be able to accommodate the increased requirement. Next slide. In this slide, dealing with the in-service benefit claims, here the target was 92. We achieved 90%. Big amongst the areas that caused the underperformance are some of the systems issues, which I've indicated that there is work going to improve the stability of our systems. And while that is work in progress because of some of the complexities relating to contracts and all of those types of things, there has been some improvement in this financial year. Next slide. On business operations, again, dealing with 60% of invalid in-service benefit claims that would be finalized within 30 working days. We achieved that. We were able to resolve some of these invalid, initially submitted as invalid claims to the tune of 68% of those within the 30 working days, which means that we're able to work with our clients to ensure that what they've provided for us allows for us to resolve the claims within 30 working days, allowing these clients to be able to access the benefits that they would have been due for, and in instances where the benefits were not due, closing the case in that time. Thanks. Next slide. In terms of the deceased benefit claims, we missed this target by 1%, and we're supposed to have ensured that valid deceased benefit claims that are complete and verified are resolved within 20 working days. We were only able to do so to the tune of 91%. And we are working now, including with provinces, to streamline oversight and also ensure that we've got direct line of sight into the people that are helping us to finalize these claims, such that where there isn't observance of the standard operating procedures, consequence management follows. Thank you. Next slide. Here we also are indicating that we achieved on the target to deal with invalid deceased benefit claims, that we resolve those within 30 working days, and we're able to achieve that. Next slide. Our last program, Chair, this is the LAB program. The LAB program has a number of deliverables. The first deliverable, which we didn't achieve on, is on a % of valid temporary employer-employee scheme applications approved or rejected by the delegated authority within 20 working days. We were not able to deal with that, and part of the delays were occasioned by some of the changes at a leadership level, which have now subsequently been resolved, so that shouldn't be a case anymore. Number of beneficiaries participating in employability programs, it was supposed to be 360,000. We were not able to meet that, and the reason we were not able to meet that is that we also had to improve our governance around this program. These numbers were based on some of the proposals that would have come in, and those proposals had to be vetted and verified, and it is in the vetting and verifying of some of these proposals, that some of them had to fall by the wayside because of lack of information, and again in some of the instances lack of alignment with what the program sought to achieve. So the target was not achieved in part because of the quality that of projects that we received, and it's a target that we are now also looking at going forward in order to ensure that we go to the public in a way that clarifies our aim, so that we don't end up with many applications that come in and occupy our time, but those applications or requests for partnerships are not aligned to what we would seek to achieve. Thank you. Next slide. And here, I think we just indicate a percentage of vulnerable groups that are participating in employability programs, and that we are sitting now at 83%, and where the target was 50%, so there is no variance there. On funded projects that are being monitored, we're just indicating that we are monitoring at 90% of funded projects, so there's no deviation there. Number of enterprises that are supported, we have supported around 862 against the target of 90, so there isn't any deviation there, but there's an important business process learning that when we partner with credible partners, we are able to do more than what we could do on our own. So we are also taking this learning forward in terms of how we improve our program going forward. And then review of the labor activation program strategy. That review was indeed done. In actual fact, we even did a further review even in this financial year to use the learnings that we have received now in the implementation of some of the earlier projects to ensure that we've got a labor activation strategy that is fit for purpose. Next slide. So in this slide, I will actually just skip it, as it was just indicating to us the big programs that we've been involved in, but I'm sure members would have read the slide. The big thing is just to indicate, if you can just go back into that one slide, that while we had some systems challenges and are still struggling to an extent with employer non-compliance, and are addressing the limitation of our own capacities, we were able to still achieve what we have been able to achieve, and we are the first to say that we need to do more. So on the ICT side, you will see in the presentation of 25-26, we will come back to indicate to you what we have done to improve ICT, the partnerships we are wanting to strike with the private sector to improve compliance with employers, and the capacity improvements that we have put into the fund in accepting that the current status quo in terms of performance is not sustainable nor desirable. Thank you very much. So I will just ask in the remaining 10 minutes, CFO, if we can just deal with, I think it's the first and the last slide, and then Chair, we would have come in well under the 40 minutes you would have provided. Chair, with your permission, if I can ask the CFO to just come in and deal with this.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CFO.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair and honorable members. My name is Fezeka Pusi. I'm the CFO in the fund. With your permission, Chair, can I please switch off my video?
Yes, we can't see it because the presentation is up, so go for it.
All right. Thank you so much, Chair. So in this slide, we're trying to demonstrate to you the financial performance of the fund. We were comparing year to year. So if we look at the current financial year, in terms of our revenue, our contributions have grown from 24.8 billion to a 26 billion. So this is driven mainly by the new registration of companies. Then again, if you look at our benefit payments as well, they've also grown there from 15.1 billion in 2023-24 to the current year being 24-25, sitting at 18 billion. This is as a result of the rising claims that we have received and the clearing of the backlog that we had. So in terms of our performance, this is good. Again, on labor activation as well, there's an improvement there. We have paid 1.2 billion in the current year as compared to a 660 million. In as much as there were challenges in terms of rolling out some of the lab projects. However, if you look at the spending there, we have spent, the spending has improved. Next slide. Again, here, Chair, we are trying to demonstrate here how our performance has also increased here. If you look at our investment revenue, there's a drop there in terms of our revenue by 3.5%. This is a result of how the market is performing around mainly the bonds and the listed investments. So our revenue at this point had decreased. However, we remain a going concern as a fund, as determined by our actuaries. And again, if we look at our net surplus for the year, the fund has also improved. Our total net surplus is 23 billion as compared to a 15.8 billion in the previous financial year. So this is a sign of improvement in terms of financial performance of the fund. Chair, I will not dwell much given the constraint of time. If we just look at the next slide. Next slide, please. The next slide, we were trying to compare line by line in terms of our financial performance, of which it's what I've also explained, Chair. And then if we go to slide number 29. Slide number 29 here, we then demonstrating how we have performed in terms of comparing the budget and our actual expenses without really going line by line, Chair. If I would start with our revenue there, you'll also note that we had set ourselves a budget of 25.8 billion. However, we managed to achieve 26 billion. So we have a positive variance there in terms of our revenue. And then when it comes to our investment revenue there, we had budgeted about 12 billion, but we managed to recognize 11.4 billion. We then were not able to reach that budget given the performance of investments and the economic markets. I'd also just touch on the benefit payments being our core business there. We had budgeted an 18.1 billion. We have spent 18.8 billion, which is an overspend there. As I've explained earlier on, Chair, was that we had lots of claims and we're clearing the backlog that was created in the previous year due to our challenges with the virtual office. So in this year, we were able to resolve those challenges, and we were then able to finalize the backlog or deal with the backlog. The other big line item there, Chair, without wasting your time, I'll talk to the issue under labor activation. If you look at the budget there, we set a budget of 9.8 billion, and we only managed to spend the 1.2 billion, which earlier on I've indicated that there was an improvement if you compare year to year. However, if you compare to the budget, we still we underspent by 8.6 billion. This is as a result of the delays in rolling out some of these projects, because we wanted to ensure that the companies that we enroll or we do business with are credible businesses, and they'll be able to deliver the jobs that they've committed to. So there was a thorough screening that had to be done before we finalized the contracting. Chair, I would just go down to the net surplus that we had for the year, which is 7.2 billion. Sorry, in terms of the budget, we had budgeted 7.2 billion. However, in terms of the actual surplus, it was 20.3 billion. This, I think the major contributor here is the unrealized profit and loss on the investments. So these are just fair value adjustments at a point in time that has now resulted in this net surplus for the year.
No,
Chair, I think
yeah, I think that's it.
All right,
Chair.
thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, Chair, in conclusion, we can go to slide 46. Thank you very much. Chair, having come from the presentation with the AG, I think we would have noted that as they were raising the issues really are around whether our organizational structure is fit for purpose, and some of the things that we need to do to improve and strengthen governance. Here we are just indicating the fact that this is work in progress within the fund, that as far as our investments are concerned, we're working to strengthen investment oversight with the PIC, and we are in the process of finalizing an SLA, an updated SLA with them. The other issues that led to our own underperformance was around IT, and here we are just reiterating the fact that we are now implementing a roadmap to ensure that our systems are modernized. And of course, we do this in partnership with the department. So in some of the instances, we've got a dependency on some of the contracts that are managed centrally within the department. The AG would have also raised the issue of capacity constraints within the fund. And those capacity constraints manifest themselves in various ways. In some instances, it will be that it will result in limitation of scope because things that ought to be there are not there timely for the AG to do what they need to do. And we are indicating there that we are going to be working internally to make sure that we are improving those processes. Here we're giving the example of enhancing revenue collection through SARS collaboration. Yes, it's taking a little bit longer than we would want to finalize some of these, but we can give assurance that a lot of what you see on this slide would have been closed in the 25-26 financial year. The last bit there is also the Follow the Money project, which we are on schedule to finalize by the 31st of March of this financial year. And the idea there is just to ensure that those that have been paid monies under COVID, that those monies are followed up to ensure that they did go to the right persons. It's taking a bit of our of the resources and time within the fund, but our obligation to accountability is such that we do have to follow every cent to make sure that it went to the right people through the right process and mete out a consequence management where that was not done in that way. And members would have seen in the papers the UIF coming out in terms of what the SIU is doing. We are working very closely with them to ensure that we root out all malfeasance so that we can be freed up as an organization to do what we want to do without the stain of any corruption that would have happened under COVID, still following the organization. That will be the end of our presentation, Chair, and thank you to the members for their patience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting Commissioner and CFO. Do you know what? If we didn't have a presentation from the AG, I would be under the impression that everything is hunky-dory here. But Acting Commissioner, unfortunately, it definitely is not. For years and years, you've now spoken about we will definitely see improvements. But every year when the APP is tabled, those improvements are not visible. It's good and well that you've now submitted your reporting on time, but unfortunately you still do not accede to the AG's proposals. It seems as if the AG is making these proposals, but it is put into file 13. So I would really, really urge that these findings and recommendations by the AG is taken up and addressed speedily. And then just before I ask questions, I allow the members to do so. You speak the right words, Honourable Acting Commissioner. You speak about creating a right labour market, but your APP doesn't speak to it. So I'm urging you to please look into these things so that we can definitely see a change in a department that is there to look after the interests of the people of South Africa. Can I now ask for any hands from members that wish to pose questions? Honourable Pienaar Rassie, Honourable van den Berg, Honourable Montwedi, Modise. Okay, let's take those first four. Honourable Pienaar, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I couldn't say better myself. It's a tale of two cities when you listen to the presentation today and what we heard from the AG. Chairperson, there's an old saying, an old proverb that says a fish rots from the head. And according to the AG, the majority of these issues lies with senior management. Now, Acting DG, taking into consideration the presentation we received now, the way the AG describes you as a department is slow and no implementation. Financials are questionable. Investigations are not taking place. And there are major delays in ICT projects that's preventing or that's causing wasteful or fruitless expenditure. That's the way the AG describes you as the department. The AG had nothing good to say about the department. For me, it's extremely disturbing. And that leads to my first question, AG. It's been a year now since you've been in office, and since we sat with you with regard to the APP. I want to know, because the ITC was also an issue a year ago. What have you done in the last year about the ITC, and why hasn't it been implemented yet? My first question. My second question is, since the AG is pointing the finger to the majority of your senior managers, how many have you how many have you charged with disciplinary proceedings? Because everything is pointing fingers to the senior management. I want to know how many is currently awaiting hearings. Third question is, why are senior managers claiming achievements, but they've got no evidence for, according to the AG now, again. And by doing that, they are justifying their own bonuses for the year. Can you just explain to me why are they claiming achievements they haven't, or they've got no evidence for? That's straight from the AG report. 39 million under investigation. What's the timelines there? It's still under investigation, but we've got no timelines. When will those investigations be finalized? And then there's 150 million that hasn't been investigated at all. When is that gonna take place? I don't know, DG. I'm extremely concerned. You haven't spoken to any one of the major concerns raised by the AG. You're almost in a worse position than you were last time we sat with you. There needs to be consequence management, and I know that word's being overused, but actual consequence management. How many people have you charged? How many people are now facing disciplinary inquiries? And the AG time and time again mentions senior management. I'm very worried for the department, acting GG, and I want to know, what is your plan on all these issues? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable van den Berg.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, when I look at your program 2, business operations, then on slide 13, you have a intervention of manual processes and overtime that were put in place. Then on slide 14, as an intervention, you have introduced overtime across all provinces to expedite claims processing as a result to get your claims processed. Now, I am going to ask you, what was the cost of all this? And how does it compare? Because you also report that I think you have only a 5% staff shortage. This tells me that we are looking at unproductive performance here. I also want to go to slide 15, where a manual process was addressed to address system challenges, and you introduced overtime. On slide 16, intervention of manual process and overtime was put in place. On slide 17, intervention of manual process and overtime was put in place. On slide 18, intervention of overtime was put in place to enhance the performance. On slide 19, intervention of manual process and overtime. Right, we get the point. How productive is your department, and what is this, or the fund, and what is this costing us? Now I compare that, and the first thing that comes up into my mind is to say, but have you not heard about computers and systems? And if you compare the cost of this labor, manual process and overtime compared to the cost of systems, why have you not implemented? It's a finding in the AG. Why have you not implemented these systems? That's my first question. Then my second question to you is on the financial side, slide 29, page 29. I want to know how you report on outstanding future claims. So it's perceived claims, stuff that is still coming to you in the future and that you need to proactively plan for. I don't think you are reporting on that. And also, I want to know, when do you realize a future cost is it when it becomes due, or is it when you become aware of it? Then do you take into account the cycle of the economy? We know that we are facing an incredible oil shortage soon, and therefore it is going to have a direct impact into jobs and job opportunities and employment. Are you planning for that? Is there any indication? Because I don't see such plans or proactive programming in your reportings. I think I will stick to those two questions. That's the pertinent ones for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Montwedi.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just a few questions on my side, Chair. Is that one? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, just a few questions on my side, Chair. One, I'm not sure if these officials are aware that we just received a presentation from the AG now. And the AG raises serious concern with recurring audit findings and that there is no implementations of the recommendations by the AG over many years. So I'm saying this because one of the officials just told us now that there's work in progress. But the question is, when will you ever reach that progress that you've been claiming for some time? Now, maybe tell us, why are you having difficulties? What is the problem in implementing not remedial actions, in implementing recommendations by the AG? Why are you failing to implement those recommendations by the AG? And why are there recurring issues why do you still have recurring audit findings? It means an audit findings in 2023 or 2022 is still coming and coming and coming. And you're telling us that there's work in progress. There's no work in progress. Because if there was work in progress, you ought to have addressed audit findings that the AG has raised before. And because they are recurring, it shows that there is no way that you are implementing the recommendations of the Auditor General. So for me, that is a concern. I just want them to tell us, Chair, what is the issue? Now, we welcome that for the first time, you were able to submit financial statements in time. And the AG still declared this financial statement as unreliable. And all your financial statements that you submitted before were also said to be unreliable. Now, why are you having difficulties to present reliable financial statements? And what have you done since the AG started raising the matter that your financial statements are unreliable? Why? Still, Chair, it goes back to not following on the implementations of the AG. Because if the AG says your financial statements are unreliable, they can't just say they are unreliable. They'll say to you they are unreliable because of 1, 2, 3. If you are implementing the recommendations of the AG, you would have known what are those issues that the AG considers them for them to arrive at the decisions that your financial statements are not reliable. So I just want you to say, why are you having difficulties to present reliable financial statements? Now, another thing, Chair, is that the AG has identified severe internal controls, including poor record keeping, inadequate financial management skills, and non-compliance with the laws and regulations. Now, I want to check from the side of the department. Why has the department not implemented a skill-based restructuring of the UIF? And who is accountable for the persistent collapse of internal controls? That's a very straight question, sir. The other one, Chair, is that why does the UIF continue to report ICT modernization as in progress after more than a decade? And tell us, what is the exact completion date with measurable milestones on how much has been spent on this project since it started and its actual allocated budget? And if you have exceeded the budget, how much have you actually exceeded the budget with in implementing this ICT modernization program? And how much of your irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure has been recovered in the last 12 months? And who has been held personally liable? I think this goes to a question that was asked by Honorable Pina, saying, have you opened cases? So how much of this irregular and wasteful expenditure has been recovered in the last 12 months? Now, another thing, Chair, is that why are the labor activation programs repeatedly funded despite weak monitoring and poor impact evidence? And recurring audit findings. Another question is, why is the total number of UIF investment currently what is the total number of UIF investment currently considered high risk or underperforming, and what corrective actions has been taken to address this matter? My last question that I'm going to end on, Chair, is that what steps has the department taken to ensure that employers comply with the declarations, and what enforcement actions have been taken against persistent non-compliant employers? With those few questions, Chair, thank you, but I'm just worried of the status of this UIF. The sooner we engage with the executive authority on this, the better, so that we know what actually has to happen about this. With that opportunity, Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Modise.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, and is it afternoon or still morning? Good morning to all members and the colleagues on the platform. Chair, my questions, I will leave them until we meet with the minister, because they are more political, and I hear as members raising questions that some of these things needed the executive accounting authority to be seated in this meeting so that they are able to respond to these things. And I would love, Chair, if you could speak to the ministry and indicate to them that we are not happy as the committee. They did not get an invite to this meeting yesterday. And for them to come on the 11th hour and indicate their inability to attend this meeting is extremely out of order. And this would have been the first and the last time we allow such, that when they get an invite days in advance that there would be a meeting and they're expected to come, they will wait until the 11th hour to send their apology. It suggests that they're running away from some accountability of some sort, and that is not acceptable. I'm not sure currently who is the leader or who's the head of the delegation between the acting DDG and I think it's the acting commissioner. However, Chair, I just want to say to all of them from the department and the UIF that they must treat government as a company, South Africans as shareholders, and ourselves as a committee members as board of directors. And they are here to account before the board of directors as to whether the shareholders will get any dividends from the investment that they've made. The investment that the shareholders would have made in this regard, which are South Africans, would have been the time they took to go out and vote for government of the day. And they expect certain things to happen. As they leave, Chair, I would request that the acting DDG, including the commissioner from UIF, touch base with the Office of the Auditor General, receives the report that was presented before the committee this morning, and go and work according to what the report has suggested, so that when we meet with them, and I want to lobby the committee that we do not step off this issue or this report until we believe that adequately the report has been attended to. Number of things that the AG has raised, a number of issues that the AG is not happy with, and those are the things that have made us to feel that the ministry was supposed to be in this meeting, so that we are able to attend to this, because mostly they are more of an issue of holding those that are working with you accountable. It suggests that the minister does not have the eye on the ball, and that everyone is doing as they please in the department. Henceforth, we are told that we are working to improve and all of that, but the AG says there's no improvement. If anything, there would be a regress. Now, the question is, what is it that they're improving? And how do they then come to the determination that they are improving when the AG is not happy with the performance of the department? And what is the minister doing with that? Is there any person that has been brought before the ministry or those that are supposed to hold them accountable to come and explain themselves as to what is it that they are doing? The labor activation issues, a number of issues that have been raised here. I would love that we raise them with the minister, and the team would have prepared a report that responds what the AG has raised. For that, Chair, I thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much. Honorable Farmer.
Thank you, Chairperson. I don't really have questions, or I do have questions, but Honorable Modise partly covered me, as I would also probably need to
to keep a hold on them until we sit down with the minister and the deputy minister. The first comment I would just like to make, Chair, is to the DG and the officials of UIF that as much as they have shown what they have achieved and what they haven't achieved, one would want to see it in relation to previous audits. Say, for instance, where a KPI or a KPA has been not achieved in the previous year by how many percent, and now this year by how many percent, in order to gauge whether there is some improvement, even though it's not yet achieved. Like, for instance, the one with the 91% that should have been 92% that they missed with 1%. How much did they miss it last year? I know it would probably be our homework, but I'm too swamped with too many entities, too many departments, and I just don't have enough time to get to everything. So I would have loved if the DG or if the department or if the commissioner could have just make that thing better understandable for us, whether there was some improvement or not on some of those KPIs. Secondly, Chair, also just a comment to you and the committee that this is the reason why we should not continue without the principals being present, because we do not have authority over officials. We can ask questions to the political leaders of that department and have an in-depth discussion with them around it, but these officials can just give us anything, and we don't really.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, whose point of order?
On Doedi.
Go for it.
Chair, I think when we were about to receive the presentation, we raised an issue about the unavailability of the political leadership, and the meeting agreed that let's continue without them. So I don't think it's fair for us to continue raising that when all of us had an opportunity to comment before we received the presentation to say, do you continue without the political leadership or not? But it's coming back again. That's the order that I'm raising, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. I think Honourable Farmer is just making a comment on that. And whilst we're on that issue, it is very problematic for any committee that sits on a Wednesday, because no cabinet minister is available on a Wednesday due to cabinet meetings. So going forward, this committee will, if we stick to this decision, never ever meet and interrogate the departments that are under me. So it's very problematic in the way that it has been structured. And when a minister delegates duties to the deputy minister, he or she then has to execute that request. So, colleagues, I don't want to go into that now. I'm going to hand over to Honourable Farmer to complete his suggestions or questions or concerns. Honourable Farmer?
I can stop there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. If I may just ask a question. If you look at the benefit payments, the integrity and the follow the money that you speak of, the presentation reflects the audit concerns around the benefit payment records and verification, including the COVID-19 TERS accounting and confirmation of employers paid. What I'd like to know is, what is your current practical verification method to ensure that every payment can be traced from the claim process to the approval, to the payout, to a verified recipient, and what has changed since the audit findings were raised? And then with regard to your LAP governance and job creation credibility, the annual report points to due diligence delays. and absolute audit evidence gaps in this LAP program with regard to spending and reporting. Can you indicate to Anna?
No, thank you very much to all the honorable members for the questions that they have raised. I would ask, with your permission, Honorable Chair.
Sorry, can I just ask that people switch off their mics?
Thank you, Chair. I'll just ask my colleagues to then come in with some of the responses. But if I may just kick it off with some of the answers, Chair, just to indicate that we're looking at 24. 25, and that we have spent the better part of this year going through the audit report and closing some of the historical findings. And where we haven't been able to close the historical findings, you're going to see that it's just linked to contractual difficulties that we also need to be addressing in how we would respond. So there will be external difficulties that we would need to deal with. I'll start with you, Chair, the questions, because they are overarching, that you're asking on follow the money and what has changed in all of this. One of the things that was done by the fund, a decision was made during COVID, that given the difficulties of the circumstance then, that in order to improve funding and the speed at which it's coming, that some of the processes that were in the fund to safeguard against wrongful payments were suspended. So it's a historical decision that was made during the difficulties of COVID. The idea there was to try and help workers. But what we found is that in that entire process, the suspension of normal governance processes then led to people wrongfully receiving or being paid monies they were not supposed to be paid. We've closed that, in that we are no longer paying any client that we can't verify. So we have to do verification first before any payment is made. And you're going to see that in our financials in 2024, in 2025-26, that all the funds that have been paid, they are paid at the back of a level of verification that is done, particularly when it comes to benefit payments, which was not the case. It was a temporary readjustment of processes during COVID, which served a lot of good for society, but also opened the fund up for abuse. So when you see the follow the money process, it's a process that goes as far as that 2020. And yes, it takes a while. We've had to employ people, auditors, to do the follow the money. We're doing it in partnership with the SIU, and people are getting arrested, both internally within the fund. Workers are being charged through the SIU process, and also our own partners out there who would have received funding under false pretenses. I'm calling them partners in quotation marks, because they would have purported to be partners for the sake of receiving those funds. That is the program that we're saying we want to close by the end of this financial year, so that we rid ourselves of that process. But of course, working with the SIU, we are guided by the proclamation. We are guided by how far they are. We actually are meeting with them in the course of this week to receive a progress report. But I am sure our head of risk would be in a position to just indicate to you the numbers that we are talking about in terms of the cases that are coming out of follow the money that now also are going to translate into into further actions being done. I do agree with members that having heard what the AG has to say and the report that we are providing, it may seem like light and day. And in part, it's because we are taking those outcomes seriously. We could have done a better job at presenting the actual actions now, because what we presented to you is audited annual financial and performance information as at 2024-25. We didn't take it up to 25-26 to then show you what we have done in the meantime in order to resolve the issues that the AG has raised. I will ask that maybe we can start with the COO on some of the issues of the AG that we know might remain with us. There's one big issue that we are worried about with the AG that pertains to how we account for revenue. We know that is going to be something, unless we get a resolution with National Treasury, that we are going to have to deal with. I'm going to ask the CIO to deal with the ICT issues that you have rightfully raised, that have become a perennial issue for the fund to address. And then I'm going to also ask the COO, as she's dealing with that one issue, if she can also go into the benefit payments and some of the improvements there that we are seeing coming through. And then I'll ask our CFO, Chief Financial Officer, to deal with some of the issues pertaining to why the AG say we are presenting financial statements that are not reliable, and the work that we have done to improve that. And then I think the last person I would probably ask to also come in will be on the lab side, labor activation, just to deal with the issues that we are solving for there. So if Chair, with your permission, I can ask the colleagues to come in that order. It will be the COO, the CIO, and then CFO, and then the Chief Director Lab, and then the Chief Risk Officer at the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we can go ahead.
Good morning, honorable members. Good day. My name is Judith Mutibedi. I'm going to come through. Let me first start, Chair, with the questions that were raised on the benefit payment. And I think honorable member was highlighting on different pages the intervention that we put in place, and we were referring on manual process and overtime. Maybe just to indicate the reason why so many pages is because in our APP benefit payment, we separate it into different types of benefit. So you will have unemployment benefit, you will have maternity. But when you look at the intervention that you put in place, because you are dealing with benefit payment, the intervention are similar. And that is why you see them in different pages, and the intervention are the same. They are talking to overtime and the intervention. And maybe just to give background, just to add to what the Commissioner was indicating, because we are reporting for the financial year 2024-2025. At the time, we had the manual process was an intervention because we had a problem with the service provider that we were working with. I think the matter was in the media in that year. where because of the contractual issues that we had in court, they switched off the system that we've been using, where the client were able to apply online and us being able to process. And it's been a system that we're utilizing for the fund for years. Now, because the system was shut down because of that that court order, the manual process was an intervention in the interim because we didn't have a system. And that is why there was an intervention of a manual process together with overtime. Because at the time we had a lot of our clients that used to submit our application through to us, especially with the online platform, that were frustrated that because they didn't have mechanism of submitting the application to us. So we had to come with an interim solution while facing the court order. So the interim solution was to have overtime and to also to have a manual process. So we had our office that were open over weekends because we had a lot of influx of our clients that were visiting our office, because those that used to submit applications sitting at home because the system was no longer available, they had to come to our office. Now, because of the influx that were at the labor center, we had to open our office even on weekends so that we should be in a position to assist our client. And that's where the overtime came in. But it was an interim solution. If, like Commissioner have indicated, when we come to present our 25-26, you will see there that we've got a system that we have implemented. Because in the meantime, while we were working on that manual system, at the same time, our ICT was assisting in developing the actual system. And that system was implemented from the 1st of April last year, 2025. So for 25-26 financial year, we've been using that system for reporting and assessing of application. I think that has answered on the issue of the overtime and the manual process. And maybe just to come in, as Commissioner have requested, on the audit findings that we are dealing with, especially the one that have been repeating for a number of years. The main area that has been actual matter that has been coming for a number of years is been on investment. Because if you look at our audit report, we've got number of qualification areas under investment. And main root cause of all of them, because it has to deal with the issues of source document, especially when coming to the evaluation method in terms of our investment, where especially under the unlisted portfolio, where we've got cases, some of the companies that we have invested in, some of them are under litigation, some of them are under liquidation. So they've been a challenge, because remember, when you provide information for audit, you need to give a reliable audited financial statement. So in some instances, companies that we invested in that were under litigation, we couldn't provide, because at the time when the process of liquidation and litigation take place, they are not necessarily financial statement that gets to be prepared. But in the other ones, the main issue was the investee that we have invested on. When we were doing the investment in these companies, because it was a number of years ago, it was not a requirement. We were not looking necessarily in terms of the year end of those financial of those investee companies, because in the private sector you'll find that our financial year in government is from April to March, but different companies in different sectors, they've got different financial year. So in the past, when we're investing in these companies, we were not necessarily taking into account that we've got different reporting years, up until there was a GRAP, an accounting standard that requested us that when we prepare our own financials, we need to also consolidate information coming from these investees. Now, as we all know, with audit, whatever information that you provide, it needs to be information that was validated, information that was audited. So what became a challenge for the fund since that year, that has been persistent over the time, was the fact that when we now had to comply with that change in terms of how we report as the fund, we found that majority of these institutions were having different financial years as the UIF. So in most of the time when we have to prepare our financial statement, their year end has not yet ended. So as a result, we then have to use management account in most of the instances. And as we know, that information is not necessarily information that is been audited. And then we have to go through a process of validating the information. And in some instances, the information that they will provide to us in terms of the management account, when they are audited, you find that there's a significant change on the interim management account they could provided us, and after now the actual financial statement has been audited. And that has been the main key issue from Auditor General, because we were then using those management account because we didn't have the audited financial statement. So the main issue has been on the source data, especially for the valuation, because that information will then be used by the evaluators for them to evaluate our asset in terms of where the value of our asset are sitting. Now there have been a lot of differences when we because we work with PIC. Then they will appoint valuators that will then go to these companies and then evaluate. And then AG, when they come to audit us, they appoint their own valuators. So what has been the biggest challenge has been when the valuators that are appointed by AG and the valuators that were appointed on our behalf by PIC, they were not arriving to the same value of the asset. In different instances, they arrived to different amount. And the main root cause of that was the fact that the information that was used was the information that was not audited, in some instances could not be verified. So it's been an issue for a number of years. Under the investment, we've been working in different solutions, try to resolve this issue with PIC. But in the current financial year, we had an engagement between ourselves as UIF, AG, together with PIC, trying to look at a different way in terms of how to solve this matter, since it's been a burning issue in all these years, and the main root cause of it is on the source data. So there was an agreement currently that we are working on. There's a different approach in the current financial year that we are working on, where PIC has appointed internal audit firms to go to all these investee companies for them to look at their financial statement, for them to do some work of verification work, so that whenever the information get to be submitted to PIC and UIF, at least could have been information that is being validated. What AG requested us to do was for UIF to be fully involved in that process, because that information at the end of the day, after the validation has been done, is going to be used by UIF to disclose in the financial statement. So AG indicated that as much as that exercise is done, we should be part of the process, so that come the audit process, we should be in a position as the fund to be able to deal with that. One of the key thing we then, because one of the other thing that has been the challenge is in terms of the framework, so that we make sure that, because these are all expertise, they are evaluators. So one of the key thing we have agreed is there needs to be an agreement on the framework that the evaluators of AG is going to use, together with the evaluators that is going to be appointed by PIC, so that we limit the issue that at the end then there's disagreement in terms of the evaluation amount that they've reached on. So those are the different interventions that we've been working with Auditor General together with PIC and management in trying to resolve this matter. So we're hoping in the current financial year that a lot of these issues that have been for a number of years that will then finally get to a solution, because now we are having people that are validating the information before we use them in our financial statement. The other area that was also coming for a number of years that is been an issue for the fund is also on follow the money. And I think Commissioner has indicated, because UIF during COVID have paid about 60 billion. So it will be in every year, or it has been in every year, because AG will keep on repeating the same finding each year until UIF has validated the 60 billion in total. So what has been the cause of why is been coming year in, year out on that one is because, given the significant amount of money we've paid, because it was 60 billion rand, and we've appointed companies that must go and validate. So in most of the instances, you'll find that in the financial year, we did not complete the 60 billion because of the number of companies that needs to be audited, because of the rent value, and each company must be visited. So you'll find that we have a balance maybe of 20 billion that needs to be validated. But in the current financial year, we are able to only validate 10 billion. So So there's also a balance that still needs to be validated. And because we have not completed the total figure, then the matter will still remain, because AG will only be happy if we are able to show the full 60 billion how it was validated. And I think Commissioner has indicated that in the current financial year, it's last leg, because from that 65 billion that we've been running with for the last 5 years, currently we've got a balance of 5 billion that the follow the money companies are now validating. And we're hoping that when we now finalize the 5 billion, and then we will be in a position to demonstrate to AG that we managed to validate all the companies. The only matters that are remaining, and I think Commissioner has spoken to that we engage on SIU. It's more of on the cases that were referred, because as Commissioner has indicated, during COVID, the proclamation was given to SIU. So when coming to investigation of cases that relate to COVID tears, UIF could not work on that because the proclamation was given to SIU. So SIU has been the one that have got the mandate to follow up on those cases. Now, what has been the biggest challenge that the Commissioner is indicating that we are meeting with SIU to address is because when AG comes, especially on cases that could have been paid fraudulently, and we're saying we are following them up, what AG requests is when they come to us, we must then provide evidence to indicate what have we done to follow up this amount and how much have we recovered. And there have been instances that with SIU, they will report to us that they have followed up the cases, they will report that they have recovered the funds, but they are not in a position to give us a report that we can give to AG, because with AG, if you say you have recovered, you must give your individual transactions. If you said the money for Judith Mutibedi was recovered, there needs to be evidence that's talked to that. So SIU was giving us proof of payment with a rand value where they will say to us that we managed to recover 20 million, for an example, but they will not give us a detailed report to say this 20 million relate to this particular application, so that we should be in a position to provide the evidence in that manner to AG. But Commissioner has indicated that we are meeting with SIU so that we clarify all these issues that we have, because majority of where we are not in a position to show progress of how have we done to recover the money, whether those money has been recovered or not. It's more on coming to the reporting that we need to provide to AG, and that reporting we depend on SIU and the Fusion Center to provide us information. But we believe with the engagement that we're going to be having with them, it will assist us in addressing that, to meet with the Commissioner. I mean, to provide the information that AG is requesting. The other repeat areas, I think it was on the financial statement, and Commissioner have requested the CFO to respond to that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for those responses. I just want to say to you, together with your minister, you will have to prepare very well for the meeting on the 25th, because I think there are very many pertinent questions that will be posed, and we expect good responses to that. In saying that, members, are there any questions that were not answered? If not, can I ask Mardia to flight the first minutes? I think it's the 1st of December, and the second one is the meeting that took place on the 3rd of December. All right, I don't see any hands. Honourable Pienaar's hand.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, yeah, the majority of my questions wasn't answered. We have members of the department here speaking for 10 minutes, saying the same thing over and over again, just in a different way. A simple question: how many officials from the department has the acting DG referred to a disciplinary hearing? That's one. This is a very simple question, and we have, again, officials speaking for 10 minutes. They've turned into politicians. We've got very simple questions, and we just want simple answers to these questions. The people of this country deserve answers, Chairperson, and I'm not at all satisfied with the answers given till thus far. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Back to the department. Can you answer that for him, please?
Thank you, Chair. We were not finished, Chairperson. The other colleagues were still coming in terms of the rest of the questions.
Oh, sorry, I thought you had finished. All right, we are running out of time. Please, can you attend to that?
Yes, colleagues, CIO?
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, let me jump in.
Yeah.
Chair? Yes. Continuing from what the COO has been explaining, Chair, why is the fund not submitting reliable financial statements? I think it's all linked to all the qualifications that we've had and what the COO has also explained. That we were not able to resolve the prior year qualifications. So what we are required in terms of the PFMA and the GRAP standards is that we must submit fair, accurate and complete financial statements. And the fact that we are not able to resolve some of the complex qualification, it then results in our financial statements not being reliable. And another factor is that in some instances, we struggle to support our figures with the necessary evidence because some of the evidence is sitting with our partners. And at some point, we did refer to the PIC. In terms of the investee companies. I will not dwell much in terms of how the valuations are done, but the qualification around the investments, it's on the investee companies that we have invested in, and we are not able to then, or they're not able to provide us with reliable financial statements that we use to consolidate. So it's one of the challenges that we are working on, members. The COO has also indicated the work that we are doing with the PIC to ensure that we then resolve this qualification on investees and investment in association and joint ventures. On the issue of evidence, that part as well, we are working on it. I think when labor activation lab comes and presents, they will then indicate what work we are doing there. Chair, without wasting time, there was also another question from Honorable van der Berg around our reserves. If do we reserve money for the outstanding claims? Quick answer, yes, we do, Honorable Member. It's just that in this presentation, we just focus on what the committee has requested us to present. But if you look at our annual report under the financial position of the fund, you will note that there's a 50 billion that has been put aside as technical reserves. That is the money that has been put aside for the outstanding claims, or future claims rather, future claims that we are waiting, that we anticipate to receive in the fund. We work with the actuaries who use a certain formula to come up with those figures. Yes, those are the questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Sorry, who am I speaking to now?
It's Raymond Makuya, CIO UIF.
Yes, please come in, Raymond.
I'll just be quick and brief. There were a couple of questions on the ICT space that wanted to just provide answers to. In quick and short, questions from Honorable Pina as well as Honorable van der Berg on the activities of ICT in the last year. Right, correctly so, as the honorable members have alluded to, with regard to the progress and the challenges. The one factor that we have identified, and also IG has then agreed, is that we were operating on a legacy space insofar as the systems that we were running to improve efficiency. From the 1st of April, as the CEO alluded, we went and implemented fully post the pilot and the development of the new system called the UIF Online that we have rolled out across all the labor centers, as well as online, which enables all our claimants to access all our services from anywhere, anytime. We have implemented that from the 1st of April 2025. In the next audit, it will be coming up as that particular implementation, because we saw it as one of the areas that we were being hit from a service our delivery implementation. The other part that we were looking at in the last 12 months as well is the extension of our services, where we are implementing the collaborations with the bank, as the commissioner alluded to, that we are looking at expansion of our services, that we do not only offer it at our labor centers as well as from our platforms, where we can then tap into the banking as well as the hospital sector for our services, that they can be accessed in those particular services. That collaboration and the technical work is quite advancing well, built on top of the developments that we've had with the new system that we have implemented internally. That particular work is one that we will be looking at in the 26-27. With regards to the second question that has been raised by the colleagues, by the honorable members, it's around the SAP implementation. That SAP implementation was meant to replace the legacy implementation or system around our financial system, having replaced the operational systems, which then enables our clients to access our services easily, where we can also adjudicate. We are now going into the financial system where we are looking at the implementation. What were the delays? The delays mainly, as per the audit report as well, that was issued on COMAF 66 by AGSA, is that we have had the delays in the changeover between Accenture as well as Alteram. But they have indicated, as we submitted our reports to the AGSA during the audit, that post 2024 we have revived that particular implementation. There is some developments and progress on the project. Our aim and the objective is that in the 26-27 we will be implementing it, and in line with the guidance from AGSA, we have determined the approach insofar as how we are going to implement it, not affecting our current audit and the audit that we are currently gonna face. That we are gonna implement the SAP implementation. The budget expenditure, we have not exceeded on the original budget. The original budget that was outlined on the project, according to the, again, audited report from AGSA on COMAF 66, was 152 million budget, and we have only expensed just under 78 million, if I'm not mistaken, according to that report, which means that we did not expense. This would have covered the development work that would have been from development up until the quality assurance. The other part, we have indeed done a review of the current system in line with the technological advances, in line with the recommendation from AGSA in that COMAF report, where we have went and upgraded some of the components, including your databases, your platform, where the system is running, and ensure that it's running on the latest systems that we have implemented. Chair, yeah, I will pause here, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. Colleagues,
Honorable Member.
Sorry, who am I speaking to now? Please raise your hand so we know who's speaking.
It's Mpumi on your labor activation program. There are questions that were raised by the chairperson regarding controls in labor activation program, procurement and payment. Can I come in, Chair, with your permission?
Please do.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. Chairperson, there is an adjudication committee that does the work in terms of sourcing or procuring services from the companies. There is a due diligence process that is being followed, and there is a property process that was also introduced as part of the strategic controls. And Chairperson, we also have accountants that look at the 2 sets of annual financial statements of each applicant and make recommendations based on the audited financial statement. And thereafter, we have a submission process, which has a number of signatories of the officials. Any amount below 30 million gets approved by the UIF commissioner. Any amount above 30 million gets approved by the DG. And then when it comes to controls in place regarding payments of invoices to the service providers, the invoices, when they come to us, they come with supporting documents. For example,
attendance registers confirming that indeed the learners were there during the training. We also received the proof of payment of stipend. In cases whereby we see that there is a balance that has not been spent, it is always offset through a credit note when the service provider claims in the next claim. And then monitoring of projects is done on monthly basis. Where there are deviations, they get reported to legal services for guidance. Where there is a need, a notice of disputes are issued out. Companies that are deviating, there is a corrective measure that is part of the signed contract. Thank you very much, Chairperson and members.
Thank you very much. Before I close, is there anybody else? Jackie, please, we are running out of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'll just be straight to the point in terms of the issues that the department had to respond to. There was one question that was asked by the Honourable Member as to whether there has been consequence management. I need to report to yourselves and the Honourable Members that the Commissioner of the UIF has gone through the disciplinary processes and has now been dismissed, with a dismissal letter being served on to him, making sure that all processes have been followed accordingly. The second issue that I wanted to respond to, it was on the issue of the URF in terms of the unbundling, just to give progress in terms of the Honourable Committee and members that in terms of this particular process, it as one of the initiatives, it was to unbundle the entities out of the department. That work is going full head on. It has been deliberated and engaged at NEDLAC, whereby a progress has been made, whereby the CS certificate has been received, and now we are waiting for the OCLA certificate from the Office of the State Attorney. And once that has been done, it is going to go through the internal governance processes and through Cabinet, where it will also, once Cabinet is approved, it will go through the respective parliamentary processes for the unbundling to occur. This is one of the projects that have been for the longest of time not really getting the traction and the speed that it was required, and now we are at a point whereby we are beginning to see remarkable progress. On the area in terms of the Honourable Members have actually asked whether are we getting the return on investment in terms of the historical projects that we've undertaken in terms of the labour activation progress. I just need to indicate that this is one of the activities that the fund and the department is looking closely at reconfiguring the labour activation program. As you know, that this is a legacy project to ensure that there is value for money, and we structure our projects in such a way that indeed we interact with people who are going to be absorbed directly into the market. So
I'm sorry, we've lost you. Colleagues, is there anybody that can hear Jackie?
No,
I think it's just them, Chairperson.
All right, I am going to cut it short here. Those that are on the platform from the department, you've now talked the talk. What we as members of this committee want to see is you walking the walk. You have to come to the party and ensure that what the AG has proposed and suggested is taken up seriously, so that we in future can see that this department is a department that is looking into the interests of our people. Amadia, in saying that, please can you flight the first minutes of the 1st of December? Colleagues, while Amadia is flighting, can I just ask that you check whether you were present, and if not, whether your apology was noted. Can you just scroll down, Mardia? No, this is the 3rd of December. Wasn't it the first one?
No, Chair, I think there was only one meeting on the 3rd of December, Chair. There's just one set of minutes outstanding.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you said 1 and 3. Okay, on the 3rd of December, colleagues, just have a look. It was on the 4th floor, 90 Plain Street, that very small little committee room that we have. Apologies from Honourable Mokoena. Okay, she's no longer part of our committee. And then Montwedi, that's that. Go down, go down.
Just check. Are we also,
Yes, Honourable Montwedi.
I'm saying, are we also dealing with corrections at the same time?
Okay, perfect. Would you like to correct something?
Yes, Montoedi, Northwest. I've never been to Limpopo.
Okay, maybe they're wishing you to go to Limpopo so that you can work with Honourable Pinar.
Now I see.
Okay, let's go down. It doesn't seem as if there's any other problems with regard to that, Mardia. Okay, these minutes were circulated, so I take it everybody has read it. Next page. Next page. Scroll down, scroll down. Vote of thanks, closure. Thank you very much. There we have the minutes of the 3rd of December. Could I ask for a proposer and a seconder? Honourable Nodada.
Thank you, Chair. I propose that we adopt the minutes of the last meeting as the true reflection of what happened. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. Honourable Pinar.
Thank you, Chair. I second Honourable Monodada for the adoption.
Thank you very much for that. Colleagues, before I close, safe travels to those that are travelling to the various airports for the oversight with Honourable Modise. And then I also want to say the meeting that's taking place on the 25th, please note your contentious questions so that we can interrogate the Minister or the Deputy Minister on that day. In saying that, I adjourn the meeting. Goodbye.
Thank you, Chair.
Recording stopped.